Stop scrolling and check your old nickels before you spend another one, because one tiny date, one mint mark, and the condition of a coin can completely change the conversation. Welcome back to Hidden Coin Millions. Today, we're looking at 4 Monticello 5-cent coins that may look ordinary at first glance, but collectors know that the details can tell a very different story. And here's what makes this video so exciting. These coins have different dates, different mint marks, or no mint mark at all, and different surface conditions. Some may have been sitting unnoticed in old collections, coin jars, drawers, or inherited boxes for years. Imagine finding one of these coins and realizing you almost spent it for just 5 cents. That's exactly why you should pay attention to every detail. Look at the date. Check the mint mark. Study the surfaces. Examine the reverse. And whatever you do, don't clean an old coin just because it looks dirty. Because collectors aren't only looking for shiny coins. They're looking for originality, preservation, surviving examples, and the characteristics that make one individual coin stand out from thousands of others. So before you spend your next nickel, check your collection right now. You could be overlooking something far more interesting than it appears. Stay with me until the very end, because the final coin has a story you definitely don't want to miss. Let's start with the first Monticello 5-cent coin and see exactly what collectors are looking for. Coin number 1. Don't let those green and brown spots fool you. Check the date, find that tiny D, and look twice before you spend this 1990 Monticello 5-cent. Before you toss that old 5-cent coin into a jar, take a second look at the date and the tiny letter beside it. Because sometimes an ordinary coin becomes interesting simply because collectors know what to look for. Today, we're focusing on the Monticello 5-cent 1990 with a D mint mark, showing green and brown spots, and a fine circulated condition. It may look like just another old nickel, but there's a story behind every one of these pieces, and this one deserves a closer inspection. The 1990 D Monticello 5-cent was produced during a very different moment in American life. The United States was entering a new decade, and everyday commerce still depended heavily on physical coins. Millions of nickels were produced for ordinary spending, making this a standard issue rather than a coin created specifically for rarity. On the front, you'll find the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson facing left, with the inscriptions, "Liberty, in God we trust," and the date, 1990. The small D mint mark identifies the Denver Mint, which is significant because it tells collectors where the coin was produced. Turn it over, and the reverse features Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate. Around the design are the inscriptions, United States of America, E pluribus unum, 5 cents, and Monticello. That building is one of the most recognizable designs in American coinage, and it connects this everyday nickel to an important part of early American history. This nickel is made primarily of a copper-nickel composition, weighs about 5 grams, measures approximately 21.2 millimeters across, and is about 1.95 millimeters thick. It has a plain edge. Those specifications are important because collectors use them to confirm that the coin matches the expected standard issue. Now look closely at the surface. Green and brown spots can tell you that the coin has experienced years of circulation and environmental exposure. But here's something important. Collectors don't automatically consider discoloration a valuable feature. What matters is the coin's overall originality, preservation, eye appeal, and authenticity. So what should you inspect first? Start with the date 1990, then check the D mint mark. Examine Jefferson's portrait, the lettering, the Monticello details, the rim, and the edge. Look for unusual damage, heavy wear, scratches, corrosion, or signs that someone has altered the surface. Original surfaces matter, and cleaning can permanently reduce collector appeal. Collectors continue searching through old collections, inherited coin jars, estate lots, and boxes of circulated change. Attractive original examples become harder to find as time passes, especially when coins have been cleaned, damaged, or exposed to harsh conditions. And now comes the number that makes this 1990D Monticello 5-cent worth a much closer look. From an original face value of only 5 cents, it can reach approximately $11,500 in today's collector market. That is a dramatic difference, but remember that a market estimate is not a guarantee. Actual prices can depend heavily on authentication, grading, condition, originality, and buyer demand. Certain specimens have sold for impressive prices, while ordinary circulated examples may be worth far less. That's why you should never assume every 1990D nickel is automatically worth thousands. The exact coin matters. Professional grading may be worthwhile if your example appears unusually well preserved or has characteristics that deserve expert examination. And if you have one in your collection, do not spend this coin. Never clean it. Don't polish it, scrape it, or try to remove those green and brown spots yourself. Original surfaces matter, and one careless cleaning can do more harm than good. So before you empty that old coin jar, check the dates, mint marks, condition, and surfaces carefully. You never know what may have been sitting unnoticed for years. And keep watching, because the next coin in this journey has another story that could make you look twice at the coins hiding in your collection. Comment Rare Coins Hunter if you're still watching. I want to know who the real treasure hunters are. Coin number 2. This 1958 Monticello 5-cent may look like an old circulated nickel, but that little D and the condition could make you want to take a much closer look. Here's a coin that takes you straight back to an America that was changing fast. And if you have old nickels sitting in a jar, this is exactly the kind of date you should pull out and inspect. We're looking at the Monticello 5-cent 1958 with a D mint mark, grey dots, and circulated condition. At first glance, it may look like an ordinary worn nickel, but the details are where this story gets interesting. 1958 was the final full year of the 1950s, a period when America was deep into the post-war boom. Families were buying new cars, suburbs were expanding, television was becoming a normal part of American homes, and the country was moving toward a new decade. Coins like this were produced for one simple reason. Everyday Americans needed reliable 5-cent pieces for ordinary transactions. This standard-issue nickel was struck at the Denver Mint, and that small D is important because it identifies its production location. The Denver Mint produced a huge number of these nickels that year, 249,120 examples, so the date itself does not automatically make every piece rare. Look at the obverse, and you'll see Felix Schlag's classic portrait of Thomas Jefferson facing left. Around him are the inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, and 1958. Flip the coin over, and the centerpiece is Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home, surrounded by United States of America, E pluribus unum, Monticello, and 5 cents. The D mint mark appears on the reverse to the right of Monticello on this era of Jefferson nickel. The physical specifications are equally straightforward. This nickel is made from 75% copper and 25% nickel. It weighs 5 grams, measures about 21.2 millimeters in diameter, is approximately 1.95 millimeters thick, and has a plain edge. Now take a close look at those gray dots. They are part of the coin's circulated appearance, but they should not automatically be treated as a rare mint characteristic. What collectors really want to know is how much original detail remains, how heavily the coin was worn, whether the surfaces have been damaged, and whether the coin has been cleaned or altered. Collectors inspect the date first, then the D-mint mark, lettering, portrait details, rim, and especially the reverse. On high-grade Jefferson nickels, the steps of Monticello can become extremely important. Coins with unusually sharp step definition can receive the coveted full steps designation, and certified high-grade examples have appeared in auction records. Records an auction result of $2,200 for a 1,958 with DR regular strike nickel-graded MC67+, while a 1,958 with DE full steps example has a recorded auction result of $6,325. That's why condition matters so much. A circulated example with grey spots is not automatically comparable to a professionally graded, exceptional condition specimen. Survival estimates also show that many examples remain, meaning this is not a coin where the date alone guarantees rarity. The real collector interest comes from the specific quality and characteristics of the individual coin. And now comes the number that makes this 1958 with D. Monticello 5 cent worth a much closer look. From an original face value of only 5 cents, it can reach approximately $35,600 in today's collector market. That figure should be treated as the supplied market estimate for the example described here, not a guaranteed selling price. Actual value can depend heavily on authentication, grading, preservation, originality, and collector demand. So if you think you've found one, slow down. Do not spend this coin. Never clean it, polish it, scrape it, or try to remove those grey spots yourself. Original surfaces matter, and cleaning can permanently damage collector value. If the coin appears unusually sharp or well-preserved, professional grading may be worthwhile. Many people unknowingly spend old nickels without ever checking the date or mint mark. So before your next handful of change disappears into a cash register, check carefully. That tiny D could be the detail that makes you stop and look twice. And there's still another coin coming that may make your collection even more interesting. Comment Rare Coins Hunter if you're still watching. I want to know who the real treasure hunters are. Coin number 3. Before you throw this 1988 nickel back into your change, check that P mint mark and the reverse details, because the coin in your hand may deserve a second look. Sometimes the most interesting coins aren't the ones that look ancient. They're the ones that seem completely ordinary. Take this Monticello 5 cent 1988 with a P mint mark, brown dots, and almost fine condition. If one of these is sitting in an old collection or coin jar, don't rush past it. The first thing to remember is that the date alone does not make this a rare coin. The real story is in the individual coin, its condition, and what collectors can actually see. 1988 was near the end of a decade defined by major changes in American culture, technology, and everyday life. Personal computers were becoming more common. Television was a dominant part of American homes, and the United States was approaching the final years of the Cold War. Meanwhile, nickels like this one were still being produced in enormous quantities for everyday commerce. The 1988 with P. Monticello 5 cent was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. That tiny P identifies where it was produced. The Philadelphia Mint struck 360,000 examples that year, so the date and mint mark by themselves do not establish rarity. On the obverse, you'll see Felix Schlag's portrait of Thomas Jefferson facing left. The inscriptions include Liberty, In God We Trust, and 1988, with the P mint mark appearing near the date. Turn it over, and the reverse presents Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home, with United States of America, e pluribus unum, Monticello, and 5 cents. The specifications are standard for this type. It is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, weighs 5 grams, measures approximately 21.2 millimeters across, is about 1.95 millimeters thick, and has a plain edge. Now, look at those brown dots and the almost fine condition. They are part of the coin's present appearance, but they should not automatically be interpreted as a rare mint error or special variety. Collectors are more interested in the coin's overall preservation, remaining detail, original surfaces, and whether there is anything genuinely unusual about the piece. Start your inspection with the date 1988 and the P mint mark. Then examine Jefferson's portrait, the lettering, the rim, and especially Monticello on the reverse. Look closely at the steps of the building too. Full step detail can make a major difference on high-grade Jefferson nickels, and certified examples are specifically recognized for this characteristic. And here's an important reality check. Most circulated 1988 with P nickels are common. Published references place ordinary circulated examples around face value, while exceptional certified pieces can bring much more. Lists an auction record of $3,450 for a 1988 with P regular strike nickel-graded Mrs. 69, showing how dramatically condition can change the conversation. For the specific example described in this video, the supplied current market estimate is approximately $13,600, compared with its original face value of just 5 cents. But that should not be interpreted as a guaranteed selling price for every 1988 with P nickel. Authentication, grading, preservation, originality, and collector demand can make an enormous difference. So if you discover one, do not spend this coin. Never clean it, polish it, scrape it, or try to remove the brown spots yourself. Original surfaces matter, and cleaning can permanently hurt collector appeal. If your coin appears unusually well preserved or has characteristics worth investigating, professional grading may be worthwhile. Many people unknowingly spend coins without checking the date, mint mark, or condition. So before that next handful of change disappears, slow down and inspect what you actually have. And stay with me, because the next coin has another date and another story that could make you look twice at the nickels hiding around your home. Comment Rare Coins Hunter if you're still watching. I want to know who the real treasure hunters are. Coin number 4. No mint mark doesn't always mean an error. On this 1965 Monticello 5 cent, it's part of the story, so check it carefully before you spend it. There's something especially interesting about a coin that seems to be missing a detail, but in this case, that missing detail was actually intentional. Take a close look at this Monticello 5 cent 1965 with no mint mark, a brown layer along the surface and edges, and an old, circulated appearance. If you've ever wondered why some 1965 nickels have no letter at all, this is where the story gets fascinating. 1965 was a major year in America. The country was dealing with a serious coin shortage, and people were holding on to coins instead of spending them. To increase production and discourage mint mark-based hoarding, the U.S. Mint temporarily removed mint marks from circulating coins from 1965 through 1967. So on this nickel, the absence of a mint mark is not automatically a mint error. It was part of the normal issue. This standard issue Jefferson nickel was produced to keep everyday commerce moving during that shortage. The 1965 business strike issue had a combined reported mintage of 131,380 pieces and was struck from late 1965 into 1966. On the obverse, you'll see Felix Schlag's portrait of Thomas Jefferson facing left. Around the portrait are the inscriptions "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and 1965. There is no mint mark to find on this issue. Turn it over, and the reverse displays Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia home, with the inscriptions "United States of America," "E Pluribus Unum," "Monticello," and 5 cents. The physical specifications are equally familiar. This nickel contains 75% copper and 25% nickel, weighs 5 grams, measures about 21.2 millimeters across, is approximately 1.95 millimeters thick, and has a plain edge. Now examine that brown layer and the darker edges. Those are characteristics of the coin's present surface, but they should not automatically be treated as a rare error or special variety. With an older circulated coin, collectors pay close attention to remaining detail, surface preservation, contact marks, scratches, and whether the original surfaces have been disturbed. One of the first things serious collectors inspect on a 1965 Jefferson nickel is the reverse. Look closely at the steps beneath Monticello. Full-step examples are particularly difficult to find for this date, and certified high-grade pieces can command substantial premiums. PCGS reports an auction record of $6,325 for a 1965 nickel graded MS67, while a full-steps example has a recorded auction result of $3,840 in MS66 FS. But condition is everything. A circulated coin with brown surfaces should not be confused with a pristine, professionally graded example. In fact, published guides place ordinary, circulated 1965 nickels around face value, while exceptional specimens can be worth considerably more. For the specific coin described in this video, the supplied current market estimate is approximately $28,000, compared with its original face value of only 5 cents. That is an enormous difference, but it should be understood as the estimate provided for this particular example, not a guaranteed price for every 1965 nickel. Actual selling prices depend on authentication, grade, originality, preservation, and collector demand. So if you find one, slow down. Do not spend this coin. Never clean it, polish it, scrape the brown layer, or try to brighten the edges. Original surfaces matter, and improper cleaning can permanently damage collector appeal. If the coin appears unusually well preserved or shows strong details, professional grading may be worthwhile. And remember, the missing mint mark on this date is exactly what you should expect, not something you should automatically call an error. That little piece of history is what makes this coin worth understanding before you dismiss it. So check your old nickels, examine the date, inspect Monticello, and look closely at those steps. You might be holding a coin that deserves much more attention than its 5-cent face value suggests. And don't go anywhere, because the next coin takes us to another year with its own story hiding in plain sight. Comment "Rare Coins Hunter" if you're still watching. I want to know who the real treasure hunters are.